Hey guys, I am so excited to finally be doing my September comic reviews. I have been waiting all month to do this for you guys. I got half of my books about 2 weeks ago and the other half just in yesterday, so I am barely catching up and reading on all these titles. Let's get started. First off, we have Die number 7. This issue was absolutely fantastic. It was beautiful, well written. Die has not been disappointing. I have loved it from the start. Here we see Chuck and Isabel and what's been happening since issue 5, since they decided to stay in the game. We see Isabel calling, she's a godbinder, she called Mistress Woe on Chuck, and it kind of backfired on her a bit because Chuck ended up being the hero anyways in the end. We do see some backstory on Chuck and on Isabel, mostly on Chuck, so that was really interesting. It was really entertaining to read. Something new, of course, but fantastic read as always. So this was a 9 out of 10. Definitely. Next issue we have Middle West number 11. Middle West has also been a series that has not disappointed me from the start. I have loved it completely. In this issue we see Abel and Fox kind of part ways because they get into an argument. We see Abel still mad, super angry at himself and at everyone, and he takes it out on Fox. They end up parting ways, but in the end, Fox goes to look for him because Abel ends up getting kidnapped. So that's interesting to see. I want to know where this is going. It's a wonderful story, and I hope he either learns to control his anger like his grandpa told him, or he'll end up like his father, which honestly is no good for anybody if you let that anger get to you. So this is a wonderful story. I highly recommend it to anyone that's not reading it. So this was a 9 out of 10, definitely. Next up, we have Snot Girl number 14. Now this comic has been a little all over the place for me. I know way back then we saw some weird murder stuff happening. We saw just some weird stuff going on. I feel really confused, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, with this issue. I definitely feel like I missed something back then, so I want to go back and reread the whole series because I just feel a little lost. It's interesting for sure, definitely. There's, some killings and stabbings and, just weird stuff happening, and I don't know, it's definitely interesting, but this was an 8 out of 10 and I definitely need to go and reread the whole series. Sea of Stars number 3. This was that story where little boy lost his dad. They're trying to get reunited. It's following really well. I really enjoyed this issue. You see the boy just being this amazing cosmic thing where nothing affects him. He's out there playing with all the creatures and taunting them, and not being afraid of space, which is amazing for him because he used to think that space was boring. And then we also see some part of his dad where he is and how he's surviving and all that stuff. So this was a good read. I really like this series, so this is an 8 out of 10. Next up we have Isola number 9, I believe this issue was. And last we saw Captain Rook get sick, and then like this witch lady or something got a hold of her and took her in and tried to heal her up. But then there was something fishy going on though whenever she decided to kick out Queen Olin. She was kind of jealous or something, and in this issue we just see that she's kind of putting this spell on Captain Rook and having this delusioning effect on her. So it's a great story. From the start, the art is mainly what has captured my attention. The art is amazing. I love seeing the colors, and it's just a fantastic story. A little slow because, like I said, it comes out every month, and I feel like I just need to reread it as a whole. It's one of those series that would be great just reread. So that was an 8 out of 10 also. Canto number 4. This has been kind of really expanding in the whole world that I thought Kanto was gonna take place in. It seems to be a little more than what I thought. Definitely interesting, but just kind of being slow. I feel like they're trying to stretch it out for the whole miniseries, but other than that, I just want to see how it ends. So this was a 7 out of 10. It wasn't such an interesting issue for me. There was so many new characters though, and so many new things to, you know, consider and take into effect about the whole world where Kanto lives. So it was interesting for sure, but it was just like an A issue. So 7 out of 10. No One Left to Fight number 3. This series has been a great series. I have been loving the series from the start. It has been really great. At the colors, the fighting, everything. This issue takes off from the last where Winda's trying to, you know, get into bed with Vale, and you know, he's like, no, you're like my sister, I don't like you like that. Then she ends up, you know, doing this huge fight thing with him, and it's just amazing. The colors and everything look really great on the paper, and then you get introduced to a new character too, so you really want to see what's happening in this universe and what's going on with Vel and stuff. So this was a 9 out of 10 for me. I'm really enjoying this series. Something is Killing the Children. I think I did a review on this when it came out on my Instagram page. I'm not sure. But this was a great start for this series. I can kind of see where it's going, but it's a new murder thriller and I am definitely excited for it. So this was like an 8 out of 10. Next up we have The White Trees of Black Santel. This was number 2 out of 2 issues, so this was the end. Issue 1, I'm not sure if I did review it or not, but issue 1 was, it was a great start. I really enjoyed it. That's why I picked up issue 2. A little too much dick than I expected in issue 1. It was a little crazy, but nonetheless, it was a great story, a great, you know, quest that these 3 fathers are, you know, on. They're looking for their sons and daughters, which ended up being together. In this one, it was a twist. You find out who's behind the kidnapping. You also find out what's behind the whole story, which was a really surprising twist, but I really liked it. It was a great story. I recommend it. If you haven't picked it up, I recommend reading it. Next up we have High Level number 6. This is one of those series that, again, you have to read as a whole. I don't really understand what's happening. I feel really confused and really behind. I don't know if maybe I missed an issue. I'm not completely sure, but this was a bit confusing for me. I need to definitely go back and reread it. It was a 7 out of 10 just because I was really confused. Space Bandits number 3. This has been a story that has been really interesting, captured my attention since issue 1. It's been all about revenge, all about, you know, they try to make it a bit about like men and women type of situation, but you know, I don't really mind that, and I really enjoy it. The art is fantastic, the story has been great, there's been awesome killings and fighting, and it's just been a good story. So this was an 8 out of 10. It was really good. I'm liking Space Bandits, especially since it's a Millar story too. Lastly, we have Spawn 300. I finally read this issue, and first off, congratulations for 300 issues. That is an amazing milestone, and this was a good story, honestly. I liked you know, just the different people that contributed to this issue. You have like Scott Snyder, McFarlane, Capul. The art and the writing just go together fantastically. It's a really good issue. I don't really read Spawn, and to me it was just a great story to read. So it was a good pickup and definitely a huge milestone for them. So history in the making, as it says. See comic reviews for the month of September. I'm going to start off with some of my favorite books for this month and then go to some of my not so favorite. First off though, I finished reading book 1 of Harley, and I am so glad I did. This was easily my favorite read of September. We see the origin story of Harley and how she met Joker and how she started working at Arkham Asylum and how she developed that relationship with Joker and slowly turning into an obsession, like we all know. I don't normally read Harley because I don't like the way that people write her. I don't like the way she's being portrayed now in different stories. And I'm not a Harley fan at all. But this book was seriously one of the best that I have read this month. I think it's a great introduction point for anyone that doesn't know Harley, which I doubt. I feel like this is the most on point origin story for Harley, and definitely one that she deserves. This was a 10 out of 10 for me. It was really good. Doomsday Clock number 11. This is the second to last issue, and Doomsday Clock, I know a lot of people have been waiting until it finishes to read them all together, but honestly, you're gonna have your mind blown either way if you're reading them every month, single issues, or you're just waiting to read them all together, as I will once I finally get issue 12 when it comes out. Doomsday Clock has easily been my top series for the last, 2 years. It is a great story. In this issue, we finally see Dr. Manhattan confront Superman, even though it's in like the last page. But we have one more issue, and we know that's going to be the big confrontation that everyone's been waiting for. But other than that, this was easily a 9 out of 10 because the story has just been great, and to me has been flawless throughout the whole series. So I can't wait to go back and reread all of these. Deceased, A Good Day to Die number 1. These were two of the variants that I got for this issue. We see Big Barda and Scott Free. They go and try to find John Constantine, and let me tell you, John Constantine in this whole issue is just badass. Like, he is just killing it. He just doesn't care, and it's just like straight up like John Constantine is, and he was just like a boss in this comic. I absolutely loved him in it, and this was a good issue. I give it a 9 out of 10 just because I'm really liking the Deceased series right now, and this is a pretty good kind of tie-in, I think it was. So alright guys, so Batman 78 and 79, I'm going to go ahead and do both of these together. You all know how I feel about Tom King's Batman and just how much I don't like it. It's not so much that I don't appreciate his story or where he's going. I just don't think he needs a whole 80-issue run to write whatever he thinks he is writing. And then we continue with the whole Bat, Cat, you don't understand, but this, the boat, the street, and it's just, I'm kind of over it at this point, honestly. I have been over it for a long time. I'm just gonna see this to the end and see how it turns out, and hopefully it won't be just a major bomb. So next up, Green Lantern number 11. Honestly, this series started off good up to issue 6 or so. I started really losing sight of the story. I didn't know what was going on. I felt really confused. So when I was reading this issue, I was just really confused. Like, I was just like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. So this story has lost me a long time ago, and I give this a 6 out of 10 just because I feel completely lost. I feel like this Green Lantern has been just too big, too much at once, and I know it's ending soon, and honestly, I've never said this before, but I'm kind of really glad that it is, and that's really disappointing to hear because, as y'all know, Green Lantern is one of my favorites, so it really sucks. Next up, we have Batman Curse of the White Knight number 3, and the variant right here with Gordon on the front. In this issue, we end up losing a very important character. We also see a good relationship between Harley and Batman that was pretty interesting. We see a little more backstory of Gotham, which I'm really enjoying, like all that backstory and history of Gotham in this Batman White Knight series. And also we see some Joker in here, and this issue was just fantastic. Sean Murphy has been killing it both on art and writing. So this was an 8 out of 10. So Batman Superman number 2, The Shazam Who Laughs. We have this issue continuing from number 1 right off, where we see the Shazam Who Laughs. So we have Batman and Superman fighting him and taking him on. We also see them talking about what the next big plan is and what they're going to do about the Shazam Who Laughs, because he currently is trying to convert a lot of the heroes into Who Laughs characters. So it's interesting to see some action, some good stories, some great art for sure. I think this was like an 8 out of 10. It was really good. So Shazam number 7, this was an 8 out of 10. I'm really sad that they canceled this series because I've been enjoying it. In this issue, we still see his brothers and sisters separated and in distant lands, but they're trying to find him. Billy Batson goes back home and ends up showing his parents who he really is. His sister Mary had already came out to them in the last issue, so it wasn't much of a surprise. His dad is just still trying to talk to him, but he doesn't have time because he's gonna go save his brothers and sisters. Overall, a lot is happening, but I'm excited to see how they're gonna end the story because I have really been enjoying it, and like I said, really sad that they canceled it. So Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy number 1. This was the issues with the weird variant thing going on where it cuts off halfway through. This was a 7 out of 10 for me. I don't think this is going to be a story I will continue picking up. Like I said at the beginning of the video, Harley Quinn just isn't one of the characters that I'm interested in or have even been interested in. And Poison Ivy, the same, just not really my thing. So it wasn't that good of a read, to be honest, and I just don't think I'll be continuing it. This was following the events of Heroes in Crisis, and where Harley's just trying to help Poison Ivy, and I don't know, that's just not my thing. Legion of Superheroes Millennium number 1. I actually really enjoyed reading this. We see a great start and a great entry point for the Legion. I've been waiting for a Legion of Superheroes to come back. We kind of start to see how the timeline will connect, and it's just really interesting. I actually really liked it. So this was an 8 out of 10. Flash Forward number 1. This was sadly a 6 out of 10 for me. I honestly did not really enjoy it. This is also taking part after the Heroes in Crisis event, and I believe this is going to be a 6-issue miniseries. I don't like how they're using Wally West and how they're just throwing him out there. Wally West always deserved more. He is a major character, and I feel like they're just trying to redeem him for what King did, and I don't know if it's gonna work, honestly. So this was a 6 out of 10 for me, sadly. So Flash 78 and 79, these were 2 issues that both came out as 8 out of 10 for me. I don't think I will continue picking up Flash just because I feel like this arc is just not really interesting. So I think I'm going to be dropping Flash for my pull, which is really sad because I have been reading Flash for a while, but I just feel like it's another book that I'm not really invested in right now. So this is going to be the Marvel part of my comic reviews for the month of September. I don't have many books for this video, so it's going to be relatively short. And a lot of these were also tie-ins and went together, such as House of X and Powers of X. So I'm going to go ahead and start on these reviews. House of X number 4. This continues following the events right off of issue number 3, and we knew that this mission was going to end pretty bad. A lot of things went wrong towards the end of the last issue, and sure enough, this issue just broke me, and I know a lot of other people too. It was just a stab in the heart just seeing the X-Men go through all that, and this is just a crazy event that's happening with Powers of X and House of X. Hickman is really dropping all these seeds like he claimed he was going to in all these issues and the timelines, and it's just amazing how it all ties in together. So this was a 9 out of 10. Continuing with Powers of X number 4, this issue was just really slow. It really wasn't my favorite. I do think that it helps us understand a lot of Hickman's story and a lot of how Hickman is piecing together the Powers of X and House of X story that he has, and he is doing a great job of it. So this for me was an 8 out of 10 just because of that. You know, everything seems to be getting to, like, being put together, but then it just wasn't really capturing my attention as much as House of X really is. So next off is House of X number 5. This was an 8 out of 10 for me because I feel like this whole issue is just showing us this big cult that Charles Xavier has. It's not really like X-Men anymore. It's just like these people being born and just being created and just meant to follow Charles because he is their creator and he's just brainwashing them. I don't know, that's what it seemed like to me. I mean, the story itself still seems to be really strong and Hickman's doing a wonderful job and I'm excited to see how it ends. But this issue, I was just kind of feeling a little, you know, torn about it because of that whole cult like aspect of it. I don't know what's happening with the X-Men. It's really interesting for sure, but just I kind of seem to be not really into it. Definitely 8 out of 10 though. So Powers of X number 5, this again goes back and helps put all those pieces together. And this one really helps us understand the foundation of how Krakoa was built and formed and all that stuff. You know, when we first read House of X number 1, we had a lot of questions and everything was just kind of thrown at us. But these Power of X issues have really helped us and try to just piece everything together and kind of help understand how everything was formed. So Hickman tries to answer every one of our questions, and that's really great. So this issue for me was a 9 out of 10 because of that. It was a really good issue and a really good read. Issue 17 of Venom, and I'm going to go ahead and do number 18 as well because these two basically are ties to the Absolute Carnage story that is going on. And these issues, they're not really necessary for the Absolute Carnage storyline, but they're great insight to see what's happening behind the Absolute Carnage storyline. So this is not really showing a lot of Venom and Eddie. In this one, we will see Normie Osborn and also Dylan, which is Eddie's son, and how they're right now with the Maker. They're trying to remove the codex that's inside of Normie Osborn, and they end up being attacked by 4 of Carnage's minions, and it's an interesting fight, and it, like I said, it definitely ties into the Absolute Carnage. So these were both, I would say, like 8 out of 10s just because they were entertaining reads nonetheless. Next up, Absolute Carnage number 3. This was a great issue. I think Kate is just killing it with every freaking issue of Absolute Carnage. He's not dragging it. He's not just, you know, filling in just with pointless writing. It's actually an interesting story that is moving things forward, and I think this is going to be one of the really good events that Marvel has put out this year and one of the best aside from like House of X and stuff. But this is actually a really solid read. This was a 9 out of 10 for me. I really am digging Absolute Carnage for sure. My last issue, this is number 4, and I think this issue was just really good. This whole series has just been a great fun, like super fun read. It has been like a trip of acid every time you read it, and the colors, the artwork is just amazing, fantastic. And this issue we see a little bit on the birth of Galactus, which I think a lot of people really enjoy. I really enjoyed that. And also it's just a lot of in-depth on Silver Surfer and his thoughts and life and manifestation happening. So it's a really good issue for sure. I really am enjoying it, and I think this was like a 9 out of 10 also. So that was it for my comic book reviews for the month of September. It was a lot of books actually for this past month, and it took me a long time to read because I was really behind. But I'm glad to just finally be caught up, and I cannot wait to review next month's books for you guys. So thanks for watching. See you later.